Thank you, DJ. All right. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to United Voices. What is going on? I'm so excited to see you to see your new faces, to see the old faces, to see everyone again. Thank you for joining us in this month's United Voices. My name is Anu Olarinwaju, if you're just meeting me for the first time. And if not, Anu as usual. I'm so excited about today's theme and what we'll be focusing on the first part of our conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about child protection against aggression and child labor. And this is in commemoration of the International Days of Protection Against Child Labor and also children victims of aggression. This topic and this theme promises to be informative, enlightening, and also we get to learn. If this is your first time of joining us in United Voices, our monthly family gathering, I say welcome. And if you've been a regular, hi and shout out to you. The second part of our conversation today is going to focus in on featuring our UPG champions who get to highlight their work, their projects, and the initiatives and the actions they're taking to make the world a better place. In addition, we would also look at City Mini Insight of various happenings around the world globally. So this is a global event. This is UPG community full of love and full of energy. So the floor will be open for us to share our thoughts, share our ideas on our theme today. At the same time, I would also want to implore us to be respectful and be polite in our comments to everyone on here. And without further ado, let's have fun, let's enjoy ourselves, but much more importantly, let us learn. Okay, thank you so much. We can begin. DJ, thank you. Right. The theme of our conversation today, or the focus of our conversation today, is child protection against aggression and child labor. So to start the conversation, I would like us to take a poll question. I would like us to take a poll question, which is, what are the forms of child exploitation? So in your opinion, what are the various forms that you have seen, that you have observed are the forms of child exploitation? There are no wrong answers. So please feel free to take the poll, and while we do that, we can enjoy the music. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you so much for taking the poll. I can see that we're taking it. If you haven't taken the poll, there's still a few more seconds for you to take the poll before we end it. Thank you. All right, so I would end the poll. And can you see the results? Let me know, please. Can you see the results? Can you give me a thumbs up? Because I can't see any reaction. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so there are really no wrong answers, right? So I see that 68% of us in the room went for sexual exploitation. 72% of us in the room today went for labor exploitation. 56% of us went for domestic servitude. 28% went for forced criminality, and 24% went for others. So I want to open the floor to anyone who wants to share the reason behind why they chose their answer. Have you seen something? Have you heard something about child aggression? Or have you seen a child being exploited in any of these areas and you just want to share? So I would open the floor to 2 hands before we get going in our conversation today. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hands and I'll call on you. Okay, so we have the first hand. Blessing, you got the microphone.
Okay, thank you. I was in between labor and domestic servitude because it's one of the most I've seen around here, especially because when people get married in my community where I am, and they start having children, the first thing is to get help. And the help, usually 99.
Blessing?
9% of the help they get are children who are about 7. And for some of the families I've seen, these kids are not treated well. So they pick these kids from the villages because the goal is like, okay, I'm going to pick your child to come help me take care of my home and take care of my new baby so I can work or do other things as a mom. Then as a result, I'm going to train your child. So for some of these houses, when these kids come, they are not treated well. For those who are here in Africa, in Nigeria specifically, I'm sure you must have seen on social media a lot of people who have been convicted and condemned because of how they treated their house helps. You know, that's what they call them, house helps. Beat them. They literally look different from their own children. They are with torn clothes, not looking well fed. Why? Their kids are looking amazingly well and are going to school. So I chose that because in my environment where I am, this is the most that I have seen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Blessing. Thank you. Anybody else wants to, talk about why they chose their answer for the forms of child exploitation? All right, Samson, you got the mic.
Thank you, Anu. Hello, everyone. Yes, just like Blessing said earlier, for those of us in Nigeria, it's not going to be anything out of the ordinary to have seen domestic servitude at its peak. And I think there was a point in my life where I saw it so glaringly that it really touched me. So I was driving, I was in a car driving along the road. And then when we looked outside the window, we saw a family driving in a truck. So the husband was driving at the driver's seat, then the wife, and then the back seat of the truck was occupied by their 3 children. But then what struck everyone who was in that car was that the house girl of the family was placed at the back of the truck. So she wasn't inside the truck. She was like cargo being carried at the back of the truck. And she was sleeping, and then sometimes she would stand up, she would raise her head and look over at the road. It was around past 7 p.m. at night, and it was so touching and so painful. And then it really raised a very vital discussion because we saw in real time a girl being left out in the open. Anything could have happened to her. It could have been raining, and they probably would have still left her out there. So it's really painted that picture for us about how much in our society this is really prevalent and how much it's not the best to happen. And I actually also recently wrote a book regarding this on child abuse and human trafficking and how young people who are sent to various houses as house helps are abused and face so much trauma. So it's really something that is really prevalent in Nigeria. But the painful part, I think, mostly is that it's subtle. It's not overt. It's not something where you just see someone being mistreated. They treat it as though it's like a normal thing, but it's not so bad. It's kind of bad, but it's not so bad. And I think that's what makes it worse. So most of us, when we see it, we can afford to just shrug and say, oh, well, that's just how life is. And, we move on. So I think it's something we really need to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samson, for sharing your thoughts. So we decided to go with this theme because on the 4th of June, the United Nations said it was an international day for innocent children, victims of aggression. And on the 12th of June, it was World Day Against Child Labor. I want to read something to us this afternoon or morning. The United Nations estimates that about 160 million children are still engaged in child labor, some as young as 5. And children are mostly affected by the consequences of war, such as denial of humanitarian access, domestic violence, sexual violence. And we see all of this in various countries, most especially third world countries around the globe. So this topic today is very, very important and very necessary for us as individuals, as agents of change, as champions, as people who actually want to make an impact, to be aware of. We cannot do without this. A child grows to become an adult. We were all once children. And if we don't address these things, if we cannot identify the subtle signs of aggression against a child or exploitation against a child, then we might need to question what change we're actually fighting for. Because imagine the next generation coming behind us. These are the people who would leave behind, in the world. So we have to find a way to protect these children. And we have guest speakers who would be talking with us. We have professionals and experts in this field. So I want to call on Danka. She's going to be talking about the current war in Ukraine and how children have been affected. So can we all show Danka some love? I know some of us have attended the United for Ukraine events and we've seen these things, heard these things, but it cannot be overemphasized. And with that, please let's welcome Danka to speak. Danka, you got the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I see familiar faces, especially here. And if you visited our weekly event, United for Ukraine, you may be aware about some of this information which I will share with you. I guess it's not the secret that unfortunately on February 24th this year, Russia started the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but actually the war began 8 years ago. The Russian war against Ukraine began 8 years ago. And these terrible things which we can see in Ukraine now, it's unfortunately also touched children, as you can imagine, and we have not imagine, as you can see in social media and in international media. And we have really short presentation from our team. Maybe I know you can give me opportunity to share screen,
Yes.
because we gathered some official data.
Yes. Bichal, can she share now?
Just try me again.
Danka,
No, I'm disabled. Yeah. Yep.
You can try
So
now.
one moment. Yeah, I can. Thank you. So it's from yep. In this slide, you can see updated data today from Prosecutor General Office of Ukraine. And here is official data about Russian crimes in Ukraine, but also there is terrible numbers about children. And for today, 322 children died because of war. And as you can see, also 581 children injected, and this number increases every day. And in next slide, you can also, but injected and diet children, it's like one problem. Another problem is forced deportation. And if you visited our previous session, United for Ukraine, you might see the slide. It's data on June on 30th of June, according to the Deputy Interior Minister of Ukraine, Katerina Pavlichenko. Of that moment, at least 234,000 children crossed the border to Russia, and these children were forcibly taken from Ukraine. And in Ukrainian media, we can, and especially I saw it in Ukrainian media, for example, Suspilne, Kyiv Independent, there is some information when children was forced to deportation from Ukraine, and they spent like these days of deportation without her parents, without anyone whom they might know, and this really terrible since it's terrible, it's from my point of view, so but for me it's terrible. And also why this is you might know this person Putin. And the thing is that and this guy is like prayer or something like that, yeah, of Russian church. According to the independent journalist from Stolitstvo Info, it is Ukrainian media, they conducted investigation about Ukrainian children which who was deported to Russia. And the thing is that they investigate that Russia Orthodox Church also play a crucial role in forced deportation of Ukrainians. And you can even see how church connected with like with this crimes against the child. Yeah. And next slide, you can see actually it's real pictures about children, what is going on in Ukraine. They, I guess this picture describes the situation better than any numbers. From at the beginning of full-scale invasion, as you can see, this child was born in shelter, in underground shelter at the first days of Russian invasion. And this baby also spent time in underground shelters. And for example, in these pictures, you can see how Russia's invasion touched such spheres as education. So because of spending time in shelter, children used to study in shelter. They don't have any, some of them don't have any medical stuff. And this, for example, this child, sensitively for now, they was evacuated about 1 month ago from Azovstal, but they spent about more than 40 days without seeing the sun. They didn't have like enough food. And I spoke with a woman who actually was with children in this shelter in Azovstal, and she said me that all scenes, most of scenes about which children were dreaming in this shelter was like food. They were painting some food, they were playing some games connected with food and something like that. And to learn more, I will share it in chat in few minutes. There is like Ukrainian NGO, the Voice of Children Foundation. They help, they give some psychological treatment to children. They also help with some funds to family who suffer from war. But on their website, you can find children's stories, like real experience of children who fled from their houses, who were evacuated. And also you can see this like pictures from this child. Yeah, so that's all from me. Thank you for inviting, and I think you definitely should check this information and learn more what is going with children in Ukraine now. And yeah, if you would like to do some initiative how to help children or something like that, I'm always open, or I'm or someone from our team, just tell us. Yeah, I can stop sharing.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah, you can make me unhost because it seems I was co-host. Yeah, for now.
No worries at all. Thank you so much, Danka. Please can we show Danka some love for spreading the awareness of what is actually happening on ground right now in Ukraine. And I want to say that I need to be careful with what I want to say, but that there's this proverb that says when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers the most. So children literally are most affected when war breaks out, either civil war within a country. DJ, if you could please bring down the tempo. DJ wants us to groove. Not yet, not yet. Okay, so I was saying that even in civil war or national wars between various countries, children are mostly affected, women and children, of course, but children are mostly affected. I was reading a personal story, I believe, of the current Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and she was talking about her experience of the civil war in Nigeria when she was just a child, and how it affected her, and how she had to, you know, carry a younger sister or brother, I can't remember correctly, on her back, running from the war. So imagine the reality of a child in that trauma. So it's important that as a community, as individuals, as voices for change and agents of change, we need to start taking the right actions. Yes, actions are being taken, but no action is too much action. No awareness is too much awareness. No fighting or speaking up is too much. So this are very, very important. If the floor is now open for anyone who wants to share what actions we can begin to take or your thoughts on this. And while we do that, I want to throw a particular question to us so that we can also discuss this before we move on. So I see someone's hand, Miriam. So Miriam, you can speak and then I will talk about the next question and we'll take it from there. Thank you. All right, Miriam, you got the microphone.
Thank you so much, Anu. And also thank you for sharing these stories. They're really like eye-opening. I live in Lebanon and we have both Palestinian and Syrian refugees. I'm a Palestinian refugee myself. But a few years back, when Syrian refugees started coming to Lebanon, all our children, because of the war, when they came here with their families, they couldn't find any jobs, there was no income. So now in Lebanon, we have around 10,000 children working on the streets, whether they were begging for money, selling flowers, selling small items. And for me, one of the solutions that I created an NGO in Lebanon in which we gave them the right to be educated, because these children doesn't have enough money to go to schools, and even public schools for them is too expensive to get all the material and the books and this other stuff. So they don't know how to read and write, which is super important for them for their future. So what I did, one of the solutions, I created an NGO which teach them how to read both in Arabic and English. So if anyone want to violate them on the streets, like rip them off of the pricing, they know what is actually happening. And when it comes to them, when you especially talk about labor, it's wrong for the child to work on the street, but it's their only source of income. Without this tiny income they're making, they don't have any other way to make up money. So for me, I always see it as a double-edged sword. We try to get them out of the streets, but at the same time, we need a sustainable solution, which will ensure them to have income, so they won't starve and have a little bit accessibility to health services and whatnot. So I think designing the solution should be really focusing on sustainability, because they're just not solving the issue. We need to address the root cause of these kind of issues. Okay, we're gonna end the labor. What can we do in return for them?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miriam. Please can we show Miriam some love? Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Anam, you got the microphone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, UPG team, Anu, and everyone for discussing such an important topic, because I think children are future generation. So a lot of the children see a lot of problems in their childhood. So it's very important to create a strong generation for tomorrow, for sustainable world. For that, I think a lot of the students suffer from child labor, a lot of from sexual abuse, and a lot of things. So what I do, I have launched a project with my university fellows. We created awareness in the schools, in the school system, and teach to teachers that how to teach the children how to learn, teach about their personality. A lot of the time students are confused about their states. If they are suffering any problem in their childhood, so they can easily tell those problems to their parents, to their teachers, discuss with them, and in some families, children are of if something bad happened to them, they're afraid to tell those situations to their parents. So we are trying to involve parents as well, to build up those skills in their friendship skills in their children. That if something happening bad to them, how to tackle those situations and tell to their families, tell to their teachers, and discuss about their issues. So we are working on personality, specialist personality development in the students, and for avoiding a huge level problem for the children, I think it's state responsibility to create child protection laws, and also tell those laws to students. Awareness is very important, because a lot of the time children don't know that what they do if they are suffering from something bad. So it's very important to create awareness in the students, and it's a responsibility of elder persons like UPG leaders and a lot of our community elder. If they see any bad changes in the student or in the family member, so it's a responsibility to help them and to discuss the issue. And it's also responsibility of the parents that if they see something bad in their children, behavior change. So must address.
Thank you, Anam. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, both Anam and everyone who has spoken has really highlighted what we need to do. So I want to throw a question to everyone here before we move on. And the question is, what do you think are the signs of child aggression and child exploitation? At the beginning of our conversation, we did a poll on the various forms of child exploitation, domestic servitude, labor exploitation, sexual exploitation, others. What would you say are the signs or the symptoms of child abuse, neglect, and aggression? And I want to say for a fact that even in families, children are being abused by their parents. Can we be real for a second? Children are being abused by their parents. So if you know a family whose child is being abused by them, how would you recognize it? What do you think you would look out for to stop this abuse or neglect or aggression? I want to open the floor again to anyone who has probably seen this and thinks this is a sign to look out for: neglect, abuse, and all of that. So I'll post the question in the chat. If you cannot speak, please put your comments in the chat as well. And I won't want us to spend so much time because we have other agendas in our program today. But please, if you want to really say something, raise your hands and I'll call on you. Thank you. All right, so I see 2 hands already. Abdullah Karima, you got the microphone. Karima, we can't hear you if you're speaking. All right, so we'll let Karima. James Peck, you can speak.
Hello, everyone. So I'm James. So regarding to that question, I think that's not an easy question to say because obviously in order to try to prevent from people to stop the violence, first of all, you actually have to hold them, shout them out and basically saying that, that this is enough, that we obviously cannot tolerate any of the violence that is actually happening within the household. So I think that's the first step to actually trying to have prevention measures to say that, this is unacceptable to do so. If it's within a household. Now, if it's going to the global scale where we need to find how we can make sure we can prevent violence, is to make sure that we need to use a lot of advocacy awareness, whether that is using social media campaigns to spread awareness, like if there was a national anti-violence day, if there is, we could use that as an opportunity to use an advocacy to spread awareness and educate the public that this is not really a unacceptable, idea that obviously violence should be continuing to happen all over the place right now, because it's already detrimental. It's already, decimated to the point that it's already impacting a lot of people around the world, whether it's economically, politically, culturally, and society. Everything's getting impacted on not only the fallout of the Ukraine crisis, what's going on, but even at home. Obviously, whenever a child is actually getting abused at home, the first thing is probably they're more likely to get mental health deterioration in the long term, and that's going to continue on for them for the rest of their life, because that actually it happened to me as well with when my father actually got abused by me because of whatever the reason is, but I suffer from that, and I obviously still suffer at this till this today. But one thing I would say for that is that obviously is to make sure that we need to overcome it and to make sure that this violence it can continue to happen all over. Because if it does, then obviously it's telling the whole society that it's acceptable, and we're not obviously accepting violence at all, because we need to make sure that we need to have a peaceful world instead of going backwards and have to negative peace. And obviously that's the thing that we need to push for positive peace. And I'm hoping that that will continue on. It's just that we need to have a lot of collaboration efforts from around the world to make sure that that will make happen. So that's from my side, from recommendation to trying to prevent from violence from happening.
Thank you so much. I like how you mentioned one of the signs is mental, even emotional deterioration, and children, because their emotions or mental abilities are still forming, you can most likely tell the signs when a child is not paying attention, when a child is violent, and all of that. All right, so we have an expert in our midst, and I just want us to quickly call on him before we move on. Please, with lots of you, PG Love, can we welcome James Adek? He is a child I'm so sorry. He's a child protection expert. So please, with lots of you, PG Love, can we welcome James as well, as he gives us a professional outlook on this issue of child labor and child aggression. So James, you got the microphone. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everyone, for having this opportunity to talk and discuss about children. If it's okay, I can put some bit of presentation.
Yes, please.
Sure. So as we also mark the Day of the African Child and also acknowledging the aggression and violence against children, that, and also confirming that children have fallen victim and vulnerable to to exploitation, abuse, and neglect. I'll just want to put a bit of presentation. Let me share my.
Vishal, can you share now?
Sorry, hold on.
It seems yes, but sorry, I'm still co-host. Maybe it's because I'm co-host, but
You can,
No.
you can share now.
All right, James, you can try to share. Thank you.
Sorry, I prepared something.
Yes, we see your
Small
screen
presentation.
now. Yes, thank you.
So I've prepared a small presentation just to shed light on the structural violence that perpetrated against children, and unfortunately sometimes it's also the caregivers who are perpetrators, and sometimes it's the society and the community at large. And we also look at the signs, the different impacts and effects, and a bit of statistics of the general violence that are being perpetrated against children. So just to understand the violence itself, violence against children basically is the difference or the patterns of difference, either power difference or wealth difference, privileges being put to one side and not favored on another person, education imbalances, a lack of access to health, and all these unjust and unequal opportunities that contributing factors to create the differences and make and affecting now the children well-being. So basically, if you look at children in general, if we talk about children, that is like generalizing, but again, from the expert point of view, we try to understand because the level of vulnerability also depends on the children themselves. It depends with a lot of factors, and one, there are children who are living with the caregivers who are not necessarily family members or relatives, and there are children who are unaccompanied, children who don't have family members. Either one, they are orphan, or they fled from war or migrated to a different country, and they do not have any family member to care for, and most of the time you find they live alone or try to live in a group setup with other peers, and for them they become more susceptible to protection concerns and risk factors. And also we have now children who are living with their parents. But again, the challenge comes in where the parents are the ones perpetrating violence against the children, either in cases that I was following the discussion, we have children who have who are faced child labor, where parents are forcing them to go and work at a very tender age, the age of 5 years. 4 years are being forced to drop out of school and engage in child labor. There are children who are also forced in early marriage by parents themselves. So this type of children, we categorize them as accompanied children, but who are children at risk. And then the ones that do not have any family member, we categorize them as unaccompanied minors or children, because they do not have any adult person who accompanies them, who cares for them and tries to provide support. And then we have now the general children, separated children who perhaps are living with one of the cousins, relatives, but who are not necessarily the parents, but they have blood relation, or just they're related somehow, either by blood or by marriage, where maybe it's a stepmother or a family of different, of maybe a sister or something of sort. So the why we try to categorize them is to really understand in depth and see how best we can provide a specific centered program, because the vulnerabilities differ, and the different children in the society face different protection concerns depending on the protective factors that that support the children. So the ones who with the caregiver, most of the time at least have protective factors, who are the adult caregiver who provide for them. And again, also the protective factors can also put them at risk at the same time. So it's also a thin line. Sometimes they are the risk factors, they are protection factors. And as Anu also highlighted a little bit about the statistics, it's just estimated that each year, approximately 1 billion children between the age of 2 years to 17 experience physical, sexual, or emotional violence. And all these children, or if this violence is not addressed at a very early age, the impact of it is lifelong, and most of the time it manifests at an older age. Sometimes when they become adult, then it manifests, and sometimes health-wise, sometimes they physically they're not able to adjust in the community or in the society, and it becomes really it has a negative impact on them. Then another estimate is nearly 3 in 4 children, or approximately 300 million children, the age between 2 to 4 years, regularly suffer from physical punishment and psychological violence at the hands of parents and caregivers. And unfortunately for parents and caregivers, is at this age, most of them have built trust. And so it's very difficult for this type of children, or this category of children, to really understand that they are really facing violence, because they have built trust on their caregivers, and they understand that this is the person that cares for me and supports me. And so sometimes certain aggression against them, they would relate it to love and care, and not necessarily something to do with violence or risk factors perpetrated against them. So this is where it's a little bit tricky, because most parents and caregivers who are perpetrators, it becomes a challenge, because sometimes you find children who are living with their parents or caregivers. Most laws are a bit weak, and so it's really hard to intervene or respond to such cases, because you find in certain countries, parents or certain culture it's hard to separate the children away from the parents, or maybe the national system is not very strong to work with the government or the national system to ensure that the children are living in a safe environment. So we look at the different ways and also the challenges that in the day-to-day activities or life. There are certain challenges that children face, and there are certain challenges that it's structural based, that perhaps it's difficult to intervene for such children who are facing different types of violence. So some of the contributing factors or contributing elements of violence, one is poverty, and poverty is the greatest one, and as a result of poverty, you find a lot of children or family members, either one for the female gender, for instance, they are forced to get married at a very tender age because of dowry and all sorts of gifts or money exchange. So and parents do that because they don't have any means of provision, and others also force them into child labor because they don't have alternative options or means of providing for the children. And to be able to supplement this, they then force them to go to the streets and to either beg or to work or to do any kind of job so that they're able to fend for the family. And there are others where, because of poverty and there are different evidence of children who are forced to become street urchins, not because they don't have families, but because the families cannot cater for the needs of all the household. So what happens is you find other children, especially the older ones who are 16, 15, they tend to leave the family and become street urchins because they feel like the parents cannot cater for all of them, and they want to assume the adult role by going outside there and fending for themselves. And this is a challenge because they're vulnerable, they're young, they're vulnerable to exploitation, and they become homeless, they beg on the streets, and they try their best to be able to provide for them. And if you trace, you find the families are there, but it's because of poverty. Then we have another contributing factor of children violence against children is gender inequality. And this perhaps you can also look at it in terms of one, culture contributing to it, religion and other beliefs, like giving an example of boys. When boys are raised in such a way that they cannot express themselves, or if they express themselves emotionally, they are being categorized as weak, and all sorts of, most of them suffer from mental health and they cannot express themselves well because of this. The female girls, others are denied the right to education, or they are forced into marriage, or they are forced to drop out of school because of the fact that because of their gender, and because of the gender inequality and perception against it, also causes or contributes to violence against children. Another one is economic necessities, and this I'll look at it as a general or worldwide, a contributing factor, and not necessarily going into specific details. And I'll give an example of migration as as an explanation on economic necessity, where you find most countries where persons cannot be able to fend for themselves. Either there's lack of employment opportunities, whether there's a bit of instability, or certain policies or national policies in the country are not favorable to ensure that the person transitions into adulthood or enjoys a better life. So most of them tend to leave their country in search of better opportunities. So, and this is where now we find migrants who leave their country and irregularly and use irregular means and pass through either Sudan, Libya, Mediterranean Sea. They cross to either Italy or Europe, or but most times you find either others face violence on the streets, others become vulnerable to sexual exploitation, to abuse, because most of these children, one, either they use smugglers to cross, irregularly through different routes until, eventually with their hope of going to Europe. But most of them, either one, find themselves in a very precarious situation. Like others get arrested, they get detained. There are others who are forced into sexual exploitation in exchange of being smuggled. There are others who are not necessarily planning to move, but because smuggling has become one of the problems, they find themselves being kidnapped and forced into smuggling to another country, and they find themselves in a different country, and they are beaten up, forced, to call the different relatives so that they can give money for them to get released. So economic necessities has also contributed to violence against children and war. And if I talk a little bit about war, like for instance, Danka has shared presentation on Ukraine crisis. We also have the different crises in the country. We have the Sudan conflict. We have the Congo crisis. The different kind of crises in the world that are happening, and as a result of this, also children and women become more vulnerable, and also elderly persons. And specifically, if we talk about children, is most of them find themselves at one point they are in a family, and then within some few minutes, they don't know where the family is, or war erupts there in the house. Then in a snapshot, everyone runs in different directions, and they find themselves alone or in a group of persons whom they don't know, moving in one direction, and they follow them because they feel, perhaps where they are going is a bit safer, and they find themselves in a different country as refugees, as asylum seekers, and others get exploited because, one, they are more dependent on everything, on basic needs, on shelter and health and all these needs that are essential for their well-being. And as a result of this, they find themselves, being vulnerable to exploitation, and people take advantage of them either on their way during their flight to the different country. Then we have the lack of access to education, which of course also we say that education is key, and it helps them to become better men or men and women in the future. And lack of this also contributes to violence against them. So some of the early signs of violence against children, or what do you look at to know that maybe, which can give you some of the signs that, maybe someone or a child is being exploited either sexually or child labor, or, physical or verbal abuse or harassment. So most of them, you find there's the mental impact, where the children, there are some who become withdrawn. The ones who are a bit talkative, they become withdrawn and tend to not talk at all, or they tend to isolate themselves from others. And because of the post-traumatic, related psychological problems that is as a result of the of maybe whatever ordeals that happen to them, either it's sexual violence or maybe abuse or physical or mental. So most of them, it's either manifested in mood swings, or others become short-tempered, or there's a bit of behavior changes. And the ones who are sexually exploited, one of the signs that you'll tend maybe to want to look at is you find a child having certain unexplained gifts. They have a new phone, they have some cash where they cannot really tell you where they have, because you find most of these perpetrators, either whether they are parents, whether they are caregivers, or just an unknown person, most of them tend to lure them with gifts, with material things. And because most children cannot comprehend this, they tend to relate or translate their sexual exploitation as a result of, because I've been given this, then it is okay. And so this is one of the
James,
signs. Sorry.
thank you, James. Thank you so
past the
much.
time?
Yes, please. So if you
Okay,
could just
sorry.
round off
It's a bit
in,
broad, but sorry,
yes.
it's a bit broad, but let me just summarize by saying there are a lot of things that children face, and there are different remedies that we should do as in terms of programming. A lot of laws, the institutionalization of children institutions, and other solutions. But I'll just share the presentation, and if you have any questions, perhaps I'll be ready to answer. Thank you, and sorry for taking more time. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much, James. Can we show James lots of love? I mean, this is his field. He's a professional in this field, so I'm sure if we had all day, James would take on everything we need to know about this particular theme and topic. I don't see the love, please. Thank you. All right, so are there any questions or comments before we move on to the other part of our conversation today? And I'm apologizing in advance for the timing, but of course this is United Voices. Do not go anywhere. Please stay with us. So if there are any questions for James or comments before we move on to the other part of our conversation today, please feel free to ask James and throw it open. Anyone? All right, thank you. I don't see any questions or any comments, but I have learned something today, especially the contributing factors to child aggression and child labor from poverty, which I think is the #1 cause of this, to economic necessities, especially in third world countries, to war, which we see, to other factors, right? So, and the signs that was shared with us by James, we can begin to watch out for these signs and these symptoms. And I believe it would help us in identifying child labor and also exploitation. All right. Okay, so without further ado, DJ, can we have music as we segue into welcoming some very special people in our midst today?
I think I can find only this track to play. Otherwise, I was not really in a mood to play any song.
Because of the war, right? And child aggression.
Yes, but I hope you can hear.
Yes. All right, so let's welcome Anjali as she does something special for us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I understand the previous segment was heartbreaking and was intense, but it was really a very important one to bring our attention and awareness to the issue. Having said that, keeping all of it in our heart and mind, let's move on. Please help me and join me in welcoming our first timers. Everyone who has joined, this is your first time joining UV, please raise your hand so we can welcome all of you. DJ, can we have
Welcome,
the music in
welcome,
the background
welcome. If
as
this is your
well?
first time of joining us, please
Welcome.
raise your
Yeah.
hand.
Welcome, Emmanuel.
Hello.
Welcome.
James, thank you.
Welcome. I hope that we see you in the upcoming sessions of United Voices as well, which is happening every month. So welcome, DJ. Can we have the music in the background? So we welcome them in the meantime. Welcome everyone. Everyone else who is a regular to United Voices, please send some love to everyone who's joining in for the first
Thank you,
time.
Manuel. Thank you for joining. Thank you, James. Thank you for your time. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and then this is a very interesting one. We also have a next segment where we celebrate birthdays. So anyone and everyone who's born in the month of June, please raise your hands, as we at United Voices would love to, celebrate your birthday. Is it? Oh, Mihaki, I can see Mihaki raising her hand. Even if you have your birthday in the early June, it's all right. We're here to celebrate your birthday. Happy birthday, Mihaki. Happy birthday.
Happy
Trisha.
birthday. Do we get to
Happy
sing for
birthday.
them?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, DJ, we could have a birthday song. We want to celebrate birthdays.
And everyone can please join me in singing a happy birthday song for them. At a start of 3, because I don't want to go alone. I'm a bad singer. So everyone, please join me in singing happy birthday song for them in the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. DJ, can you also have the song in the background, please?
I see everyone is still muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy
birthday
to you.
Happy
birthday,
dear beloved ones. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God, that was so wholesome. That was love the energy.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was the segment. Now I would like to give the mic back to Anu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anjali, and welcome to the first timers. Thank you for joining us at this month's United Voices. And to celebrants in the building, happy birthday, wishing you long life and prosperity. Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to move on to the feature champion segments. This is where we feature our UPG champions who highlight their work, their projects, their initiatives, or even actions they're taking to make the world a better place. So the first UPG champion I'll be calling on today is James Peg. I hope I pronounced your surname well. We've heard him speak, but with lots of love, let's welcome James, a UPG champion, as he shares and talks about his work. Thank you. I don't see the love. Where's the love? James, we need you to feel loved, right? You want music?
Well, it doesn't matter how much it is. But is it okay? I could do a screen share a little bit?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Well, actually, it's not letting me. So I'm just going to give it 2 minutes. So my project, obviously,
hold on. You can't share your screen. Just hold on. You need to share your screen. No. So you'll be able to.
You can now. Please try.
It's not letting me actually. I actually have some issues here. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to continue on what I'm trying to say. So for my project that I've been doing throughout the UPG and then prior, it's regarding to the peace building, just like everyone was sharing earlier this morning regarding to that. and it's specifically regarding to the youth, youth building, not a platforms, but like a youth working group where I actually trying to develop some type of lessons and curriculums to deal with this digital authoritarianism that is going on around the world. And that is actually really important, not only to me, but it's also important around the people around the world, because we're starting to see a lot of autocratic governments are starting to take over the government, and basically we're starting to see a lot of deterioration in democracy. And I think in order to do that, I think the real reason why this thing happened in the first place, because definitely income inequality, polarization, and the economic deterioration, everything all comes into a factor why this actually authoritarianism is becoming a no longer a trend, but I would say it's becoming a norm right now. The presentation I was about to show was the world map view of how much amount of deterioration it actually has been. Actually, now it's actually letting me to share my screen right now. Actually, let me show you this map. So this is the map what I was trying to show you right now. So if you see here, let's say, hold on. If you see it here, you see that this is a global democracy index that I've been taking about a year ago. Right now, this is not from the 2020, even though they said it's from 2020. This is coming from the Economist Global Democracy Index report. And basically, you start to see a lot of shaded reds and a lot of shaded orange. And then you see them where my country from here in the United States, you're starting to see a lot of shaded light blue. In this case, we're almost getting into hybrid regime where we're starting to see a lot of deterioration in democratic institution. That is scary. And I'll just give a quiz a little bit. So how many countries around the world are actually a full-fledged democracy here? Anybody would like to guess? You can put it in a chat, or you could just holler out. I don't care.
Anyone wants to try?
Let me check in the chat to see if, okay,
There's
problem.
no comment.
Well, so I think this is a shocking statistic to tell you that at least 6.8% of the world is actually under full-fledged democracy. That is accounting for the entire world population, which is not enough. And you're saying that obviously that's a lot of obviously a big problem in the future, where obviously if we're starting to see a lot of deterioration in the democracy, then that means we're not going to go back to where it was. We're in the new normal. And obviously that is why I'm trying to fight for this peace building, but also democracy in a lot of different areas we're trying to spread an advocacy with. And, for the past 3 months right now, ever since I was in UPG, I've been posting a lot of videos on the democracy within my parents' native country and the history of South Korea, how they transformed their democratic institution and the movement itself, how it actually gotten better throughout the many years. But also, I also talked about a lot of different global variation from each different democracy from around the world. And actually, that was one of the things I've been working on throughout the last 3 months. Hoping that obviously I will do something presentation like this in the near future. I know I don't have much time today because we only have 2 minutes, but this is a brief overall snap of the overview of what I'm going to trying to advocate, and also trying to advance on human rights and democracy, a lot of different issues surrounding around the global world. And that's something that, I've been partaking of, and I will continue to do that. If anyone are willing to take an interest and take part of this project, just let me know. We'll obviously continue to obviously hold this discussion in the near future. So that's all for me. That's pretty much all for my project. And I'm hoping that obviously we'll continue on this discussion in the next couple of years as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you so much for sharing. Please, can we appreciate James for that? I think that's powerful, what you're doing. So thank you. The next UPD champion is Quadri Adeola. So if we can show some love to Adeola as she takes the microphone. Adiola, we're waiting for you.
Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Sorry, I can't hear anyone right now. I
Can
don't
you
know, maybe
hear
it's
me?
from my mic.
Hello, we can hear you
Okay.
clearly.
Okay, yes, I can hear now. Sorry, I had to brush up this in between work. So my name is, good afternoon, everyone. Rodrigo, nice to see you again. Yeah, so my name is Quadri Azizat Adiola. I'm a founding member of the Foundations for Aspiring Youth in Ethical Leadership. So our purpose is to create better generation of youth with sound leadership values and orientation. So we focus basically on senior secondary school students and school leavers with the aim to catch them young. So what we do is we organize workshop sessions, career sessions. We just concluded a 6-month social impact fellowship session with them. And at that point, we're still not leaving them. We mentored about 50 to 100 youths, and we began a mentorship session for them just to follow them and channel their paths, right? So I think it's a very important intervention in every community, because I mean these youths, they eventually become stakeholders and leaders of tomorrow. So we have a lot to do in this regard. And many of our youths today, children and young adults, some of their parents are not really responsible. Some of them find themselves in environments that they really don't want, or they really don't expect to be in such environments. And they just need sometimes a lot of external efforts to actually help channel their energy right. So, I mean, that's the basic purpose of sorry, I couldn't share my slide. I had a slide, but I couldn't share it at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you
hope
so
I'll
much.
be able to give a brief introduction to my project. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Adiola, for sharing. Thank you so much. And if you're a UPG champion here and you would like to take advantage of this segment, you can reach out to the membership team, send an email to them, and they will give you slots. Thank you so much. So the next,
I will do that.
All right. The next UPG champion is Mwaki Njogu. So if you can show her some love as she gets the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Anu. My name is Mwaki Njogu from the lovely Kenya. I'm the founder of Smile Child Organization. That is the logo behind me. Oh, I hope you can see. That is an adult hand holding a child's hand, and even hearts, if you wish, because that is our responsibility as adults. Anu, perhaps you can allow me to share my screen at the start. Thank you. I'm already. Okay. So as you can see on my screen, this is Smile Child Organization. Today, I'm going to be talking about the power you have in your hand. And one of the power we have is social media. So this is Smile Child. Yes. Okay. Can you see, Anu, is it okay?
Yes, you can go on.
So this is Smile Child Organization. We have a team of 200 plus volunteers. Our organization is about children's rights. That is anti-child abuse. You also take part in climate action and poverty eradication, which at a later time, we're going to be knowing, and as we have already known, it's one of the leading causes of child labor. So Smile Child, what is our motto? Changing the world one smile at a time, because that is how the world is supposed to be. So about social media and the power you have in your hands, I understand, and I do know most of you are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I would encourage you to start, when you're doing your initiatives, make them present on social media. So yesterday was the Day of the African Child. On the first slide, you can see we celebrated the African child. The other day was the day of albinism, celebrating albinism. The other day on 12th June was World Day Against Child Labor. We spoke up on that. We still, okay, this right here, this kid right here is a street kid. He's called Edwin. We're trying to find him a placement in a children's home, actually a rehabilitation center. You see, we talk about children in war in Ukraine. That is courtesy of United for Ukraine. This is me spending some time with Edwin. And then you see, mentoring children and enabling them from a young age. to be champions in the world. That is how you identify talents from a young age. And this over here, you can see kids playing. This is actually a visit to a children's home where we have abused children, victims of abuse, especially from their own families. We will get to know that one of the leading causes of one of the leading perpetrators of abuse is even their own families, the enablers. This is one of our team members bonding with the children. This is how you can also identify abuse, by establishing bonds and getting to know their story. They won't tell you on the first day, but with time, they'll be able to let you know. So, of course, this is Smile Child and team building and all that. And definitely this is Smile Child uniting with Ukraine. So that is about us and social media, because it's important. Whatever project you're doing should be aligned to social media. So let me talk about the SDGs. If you're here, you're thinking, oh, I don't work with children. I'll tell you through the SDGs, which is one, it's about partnership, it's about people, it's about planet, and it's about peace. When you think of your project, it's involved in that direction in one or another. We learned of the statistics of over 160 million kids being victims of child labor, and tell you what, 79 million of these kids in that statistics are actually victims of hard labor. Hard labor is dangerous, like lifting heavy machinery and all that. One of the leading causes of child abuse is poverty, extreme poverty. What do you do as a parent when you can't provide for your kids and they have to eat? Send them out. Cheap labor is really appreciated in so many third world countries, and it comes from children. So you send them out and then they get some money, you can feed the family and all that. So as an organization, we are against child abuse, but we noticed you can't eradicate child abuse if you do not eradicate poverty. And that is why I would like to encourage everybody here, whatever project you are doing should be aligned to poverty eradication. Because when we say we want to eradicate child abuse, we cannot start if we do not eradicate poverty. So if you're dealing with any SDG, kindly align yourself in that direction. So we are the protectors. Our theme song is usually Heal the World by Michael Jackson. We're all about healing the world, protecting the children. And we as youth are encouraged to be the frontliners in this battle. Thank you so much. And that's all I had for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maki. Amazing, amazing work you're doing with Smile for Child organization. Please, can we show some love to all our champions who have spoken today, and big kudos to everyone. Please keep it up and continue to be the agent for change. Thank you. All right, DJ, can we have music? We will be rounding off shortly. As we do that, the floor is open for anyone to share what is happening in their city. So if you want to share what is happening in your city, please, you can raise your hands and I'll call on you. At the same time, let's all get ready for pictures, as with United Voices, we take pictures every month, right? So if you know you want to freshen up, have a quick shower, put on your makeup, have an haircut, you can do that before we take the time. So please, if you can put on your videos, let's get ready for pictures. And before we do that, who wants to share what's going on in their city? So tell us your name, what city you're in, and what is happening in 30 seconds. Can we promise to keep to time with that? In 30 seconds, tell us your name, what city you're in, and what is happening. Okay, so I see someone's hand, Emmanuel, who is also a first timer. All right, so Emmanuel, you got the microphone.
Thank you. I am Emmanuel Gift Mrangeni from Malawi. I'm in Blantyre, the commercial city of Malawi. What currently is happening? It's a lot of youths are engaged in bricklaying business, where they are molding bricks, and that is also contributing to the cutting down of trees, because those bricks, for them to be bent, they require a huge amount of trees. So that's what is happening. It's not a concern right now, because these kind of bent bricks are used by those in middle income like what line. So it's something that is happening in almost every area and village. So the soil is being lost again. Thank you. I just wanted to share with all team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And thank you for joining us. Welcome. Thank you also for sharing what is happening in Malawi. Thank you. Rodrigo, you got the microphone.
Hello, everyone. I'm loving to be here again. I'm connecting from Valencia in Spain. And what's happening is currently we have a heat wave that is pretty hot in Spain, but it signalizes the summer is approaching and the public swimming pool seasons is open until September. So this is really nice.
All right. Oh, that sounds fun. That the swimming pool is open. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for sharing. Anyone else quickly before we bring this? All right, Geke, you got the microphone.
Hello guys, it's Geke from Nairobi, Kenya. Yes, what is happening in Kenya right now is that we are approaching we are approaching our elections, and also the food prices are hiking each and every day, and it's worrying. It's a worrying trend now, because most of the people cannot be able to afford 3 meals a day. Not only speaking about 3 meals a day, even one is a challenge now, especially for families that are quite large. So it's also a bit cold here. Yes, so that's all from Nairobi.
Thank you so much. I think the inflation of food prices it's affecting every country. Well, I will speak for my country, Nigeria. So thank you for sharing, Geke. All right, so now it's time for pictures. Are we ready? Is everyone ready? I can see Bangali, I can see Octavian, I can see Ruke, I can see Usama, I can see, who else? I don't see anybody else. I can see James. I can see, oh, Emmanuel, good to see you. Gala. So Alex, hello. So on the count of 3, DJ, this is where we need music. On the count of 3, we're all going to say UPG. Are we ready?
Hey.
Welcome, Kalisa. Kalisa, thank you so much for your comments in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Kalisa. All right, so on the count of 3, we would all say UPG. I need confirmation that our photographer is ready. So, Ali, if you could just give us a thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. 3, 2, 1. UPG! Awesome. Got it. Yay. Thank you, Ali. All right, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much too.
Thank you. This has been an amazing session. Very thoughtful and action-oriented. We have another session at 5 p.m. We have another special extract as well at 5 p.m. So if you really want to learn more about our topic, please join us at 5 p.m. So now I'll call on the membership team to give us community updates as we round up. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anu. Thank you, Anu.
Please, can we share some to Gitaiga? Hi, Gitaiga. It's good to see you.
Hey, Anu. Hey, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to keep this short since we're a bit over the time. So I am going to be highlighting some of the community events that will be coming up in the next coming weeks. First of all, for all of our champions, next week we have our monthly community call. So please make sure to have a look out on that one. You'll get an email about it, and in the forum spaces, you will inform you guys. So please make sure, if you want to learn more about what we do, UPG team, the membership team, and how you can be involved as a champion, please join in. And then the next event I want to highlight is on the 21st, next Tuesday. We have a very special Learning Lab session. I know a lot of you guys have been missing Rodrigo. So if you want a chance to be in a session with Rodrigo, next week he's holding a special Learning Lab session on learning about diversity through mental exercises. So personally, I'm very excited for that. It's been a while since I've seen Rodrigo do a session. So I'm going to be posting some links in the chat. So please check out the Learning Lab. Please check out the Learning Lab and RSVP for that event. And then to round it up, as usual, every week we always having the United for Ukraine event. So I just wanted to highlight that. We will be having another one next Thursday. So please make sure to RSVP for it. And to round up, I've posted the link to the calendar, the community calendar, so that you'll be able to see all the different events that we have here at UPG, and you'll be able to follow. So have a look at that. And finally, if you're not part of the UPG family, if you're not a champion or a member, I've posted the link to join us as a champion or a member. And you can join us. Joining as a member is free. So go ahead and do that if you're not part of the family yet. And yes, apart from that, that is everything. I hope to see you guys on all our future events. And today has been a very powerful and important talk to have. So I'm very grateful that I showed up today, and thank you all. Back to you, Anu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gitaiga. Thank you. All right, we are at the end. I don't want to go. I just really want to stay with you all, but we have other things to do, right? Okay, and we have another session at 5 p.m. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today at United Voices, What is Going On. We have another session at 5 p.m. If you want to learn more about the topic, please join us. If not, I hope to see you next month. United Voices holds every third Friday of each month, so you can put that in your calendar. The link to RSVP would also be sent out. Other than that, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your patience and your time. I hope to see you next month. My name remains Anu, and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Love to see you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.